There is an ocean of everything you want: success, power, and the most satisfying relationships. It's all available and waiting for you. This is The Zone of Action with your host, Gerald Action Jackson.
Today, the subject of this podcast is popularity fades, influence lasts. Popularity fades, influence lasts. The real difference between being seen and being heard. Influence and popularity get mixed up all the time, especially in a world where everything feels public, visible, and measured. Scroll through any social platform and you'll see people celebrating big follower counts, viral posts, or massive engagement spikes. It has become almost second nature to equate numbers with impact. But when you really slow down and look at how influence works, you discover that popularity and influence do not always travel together. In fact, the two are very different forces. Understanding the distinction is not only insightful on a personal level, but also powerful in business leadership and any situation where communication and trust matter. Let's take a deeper look at why influence is not the same as popularity and why this difference matters so much in our modern world. What popularity really is. Popularity is a numbers game. It is all about how many people know your name, recognize your face, or interact with your content. In the past, popularity might have been measured by who had the most friends in school or who drew the largest crowd at an event. Today, it often shows up as likes, follows, comments, or shares. Popularity is loud. It is visible. It shows up quickly and can disappear just as fast. It follows trends, moods, and public opinion. One moment, someone is a talk of the town, and the next moment, the world has moved on. There is nothing inherently wrong with popularity, but it is surface level by nature. It tells you nothing about a person's depth, character, or ability to create real change. Popularity answers the question, how many people are watching? And that is all. What influence really is. Influence is not measured in numbers. Influence shows up in the quiet moments, the thoughtful decisions, and the meaningful shifts in thinking or behavior that come from trust, credibility, and connection. Influence is not about how many people know you. It is about how deeply they know you and how much weight your words carry. Influence takes time to build. It comes from consistency, authenticity, and real engagement. It grows out of expertise, value, and a track record that people can trust. Influence answers the question, who is actually listening and who is willing to take action based on what you say? And that is a very different measure. A clear example of the difference picture. A celebrity with millions of followers. Their posts can attract huge engagement in seconds. They can trend instantly. They are visible everywhere. Now picture that same celebrity recommending a very specific product or taking a strong stand on an important issue outside their usual lane. Even with millions of followers, the impact may be small. Their audience might enjoy watching them, but not trust them enough to follow their advice. On the other hand, imagine a niche expert with a much smaller audience. This person may have only a fraction of the followers, but their community trusts them deeply. When they recommend a product, people buy it. When they speak on an issue, minds shift. When they offer guidance, people listen. The expert has influence. The celebrity has popularity. These are not interchangeable. Numbers alone never tell the full story. Why this difference matters in marketing and business. In the business world, understanding the difference between influence and popularity can save both money and frustration. Many companies make the mistake of choosing the most famous person they can afford for endorsements, hoping visibility will automatically lead to results. Sometimes this works. Often It does not. If the audience does not see the popular figure as credible or relevant in the product's category, the endorsement falls flat. True influence leads to action. Popularity simply leads to attention. Successful brands increasingly look for individuals who may not have the biggest audience, but who have the right audience. These are the people whose communities trust their judgment. They may not be household names, but they can move markets within their niche. This is why micro-influencers and industry experts are often more effective than celebrities with giant platforms. Influence is not about volume. It is about connection. When you understand this, you stop chasing the loudest voice and start looking for the most trusted one. The social impact of confusing popularity with influence. When society blurs these two concepts, we run into real problems. In politics, for example, candidates often rise in the polls simply because their names show up everywhere. Their popularity grows, even if their ability to lead or influence meaningful change has not been proven. Headline dominance is not the same as leadership ability, yet popularity can give the illusion of influence. In culture, entertainers and public figures are treated as role models because of their fame. Yet fame does not automatically grant someone the wisdom, character, or intention to guide others. Some famous individuals influence the world in beautiful ways. Others, despite massive visibility, have little actual impact on how people behave or think. When we assume popularity equals influence, we elevate the wrong voices, misunderstand leadership, and overlook the people who are quietly shaping the world in powerful ways. The downside of chasing popularity. One of the dangers of confusing popularity with influence is that it can push people to chase the wrong things. In the effort to become popular, some individuals fall into the trap of doing whatever it takes to get attention. They may lean into shock value, drama, or controversy simply to boost numbers. They may lose authenticity and compromise their values. They may attract temporary visibility while weakening their long-term credibility. Popularity gained through spectacle often fades, and it rarely builds trust. When people realize they have focused so much on being seen rather than being impactful, they can find themselves exhausted, disconnected, and unfulfilled. Visibility without influence is noise. Influence without authenticity is manipulation. True success comes from trust, the strength of building real influence. When someone focuses on influence rather than popularity, the foundation looks very different. They invest in relationships, not attention. They focus on value, not vanity. They build credibility, not crowd-pleasing moments. This kind of journey may not feel as flashy in the beginning. It may not produce instant gratification, but it creates something far stronger and far more lasting. Real influence is built on integrity, consistency, knowledge, respect, service, authentic connection, a clear sense of purpose. When these qualities shine through, people respond. They listen, they trust, they act. You may not see explosive growth, but you will see meaningful growth, and meaningful growth lasts. The mindset shift we all need in a world where everything feels measured, counted, or ranked. It takes maturity and clarity to value influence over popularity. It requires you to let go of public applause and focus on private impact. When you do that, a powerful shift happens. You stop worrying about who sees you. You start caring about who you serve. And ironically, that is when your influence grows even more. You become someone people look to for insight, consistency, and sincerity. People remember how you made them feel, not how many likes you got. Your identity becomes rooted in contribution rather than competition. When you understand the difference between influence and popularity, your priorities change. You start building a life focused on depth rather than noise, purpose rather than performance, impact rather than image. Influence is quiet power. Influence does not always announce itself. Sometimes it happens in a one-on-one conversation where you help someone see their value. Sometimes it happens in the example you set when you show up on time. Follow through and honor your word. Sometimes it is the advice you share, the encouragement you give, or the perspective you offer. Influence is power rounded in respect and trust. Popularity is visibility grounded in attention. One lasts, one fades. One transforms, one entertains. We need both in society, but we must not confuse the two. Popularity can open doors, but influence determines what happens once the door is open. Popularity can get someone noticed, but influence earns their seat at the table. Popularity can attract an audience, but influence moves that audience to action. As the world becomes noisier, the people who learn to separate these two concepts will make wiser decisions, build stronger brands, form deeper relationships, and leave a more meaningful mark on the world. If you are a marketer, choose influence over visibility. If you are a creator, choose authenticity over attention. If you are a leader, choose trust over applause. If you are a consumer, choose substance over spectacle. If you are a human trying to make a positive difference, choose depth over noise. The world does not need more popular people. The world needs more influential people. People who lead with character, communicate with heart, and use their voice to uplift, guide, and inspire. Once you understand the difference, you stop chasing quick impressions and start building lasting impact. And that shift can change your career, your relationships, your leadership, and your life. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter, JEROLDJAX. On Facebook, Gerald Action Jackson and Zone of Action. Check out the website, GeraldJackson.com. Happiness starts with you, not with your relationship, not with your job, not with your money, but with you in the zone of action.